So about 5 years ago, I started a new job at an organization in Bloomington, Indiana. And my boss wanted me to go into a boardroom with about 15 individuals that I'd never met, that had come in from across the country, and tell them that we needed to purchase a software system that was worth about $250,000. Now, that probably doesn't sound like a huge amount of money for a lot of people, but for me, having come from a very small place and not worked in big business at all, that sounded like a very big task. And really what they'd hired me to do was to take an organization that had about 50,000 members and make them feel like they were personalized. That when they received mail, that we knew who they were. And maybe we did know something about them. We might have known their birth date, or we might have known what their specialty area was. And so when I walked into that boardroom, I had to try to communicate with them how important it was to keep track of all of these details about each of these people that paid dues to this organization. And if we wanted them to really feel important, then we needed to keep track of who they were. Well, we were actually located about an hour south of Indianapolis. And at that time, everybody was talking about the Indianapolis Colts because they were Super Bowl bound at the time. And I tried to put together a story for those board members that went something like this. You know, what if you hired me as a coach and you said, here's your team, and I want you to put the best 11 guys on the field. And then I had to determine, just by maybe a roster of names, who went where. And I wouldn't know if their skill level was actually at the quarterback or they were a better safety. I might send the kicker out, as a matter of fact, as a wide receiver. And I said, if I don't get those positions right, it really doesn't matter what kind of people you have out on the field at the same time. They won't work together as a team. I sold them, and they invested the money. You know, the more I think about that story, the more I see that it's simply a bigger picture of the microcosm of the church. Because we go to church with people every single day, well, every single Sunday, and we may shake their hand, we probably know their first name, and maybe we know where they work. We might know just a little bit more. If the church bulletin happens to have the birthdays and the anniversaries for the month, then we might know that about them. But if we never take the time to get to know who they are, how will we ever work together as a team for the kingdom of the Lord? It seems like a pretty easy solution to me to be more hospitable, to be kinder, to ask more questions. But you know, to be able to say that that's important to you also means that you have to open up yourself to someone else too. And to me, that's the hard part. And that's why it's probably me preaching to the choir, or the pot calling the kettle black at this point, because I find a lot of struggle in that very area too. It's so much simpler to walk into church and just shake hands and smile. How you doing? I'm doing great. Good. I'll see you next week. But you know what? The team of the local church is much, much more important than the Super Bowl team. And somehow the Indianapolis Colts did a pretty good job of figuring out who should be where. And even my former organization didn't do such a bad job of figuring out who should be where. But in our churches, we don't know who should play where, in what position, what strengths they have, and where they might need help, because we don't take the time to get to know one another and to ask. I read one time that women today don't feel like they can get their house in order, get their kids to stop fighting, and get a meal on the table. All three of those things at the same time, which is why they never open up their home to other people. You know what? If you can get 2 out of 3, that's great. But if you could just order a pizza and have the kids fight in another room and share your life with someone else for just an hour, even if there's dirty dishes piled by the sink, that's what Christ calls us to do. Because that's where we are. That's my life. That's your life. And we're all in this to live life together. So I hope that you'll think about those things, and that you'll think about maybe just being a little bit more open with the people around you, because you know what? They need love, just like you need love. And I think that together we'll live a more harmonious life if we just try to understand that we're in this together.